Welcome to Chatting the Pictures. My name is Cara Finnegan, and I'm a writer, teacher, and historian of photography.
And I'm Michael Shaw. I'm a writer, a psychologist, and also a publisher of Reading the Pictures.
Last week, this scene was the fodder for countless jokes and internet memes. In the days before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, however, it was not only not funny, but instead an outlandish portrait and stark evidence of Putin's paranoia, megalomania, and dangerousness.
This pool photo was taken by Mikhail Klimentyev for the Sputnik News Service via the AP. It features Russian President Vladimir Putin left and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz during talks in the Kremlin in Moscow on February 15, 2022, as European leaders tried vainly to avert a Russian war on Ukraine. Given all that we know, the outsized table well reflects Putin's distortion of reality.
We know that Putin has been practicing what some have called extreme social distancing. He's been in a very strict bubble. So this image is both a COVID image and a foreign policy image. And I think it's worth making sure we talk about both of those things.
We know that Putin has been obsessed with his health and terrified of COVID. Some of that is the result of foreign visitors routinely refusing to take Russian PCR tests or complying with Russia's quarantine rule. But at the same time, you can see this, especially with the war drums beating, as an exercise in power tripping, an intimidation tactic, keeping everybody at what you could call super arm's length. But it's hard to know between those two theories what it is.
You've got the body language here, right, in that context of the power dynamic. Putin's leaning forward. Scholz seems a little bit like a schoolboy who's kind of trying to explain himself, right? He's been summoned to the giant table. And again, there's a power play manifesting itself there as well. I mean, it's really hard to imagine how true diplomacy could really happen in a context like this. The kind of typical narrative about diplomacy is it happens in behind the scenes, intense conversations. It happens through close talks and over days and days of negotiation and interaction. It can happen at moments that aren't official, but, kind of unofficial side conversations. And it's really difficult to imagine any of that happening in a context like this.
It's really crazy. And, when we saw it the first time with Macron, that really did strike everybody's fancy. And certainly the internet went completely crazy. This image spawned an incredible number of creative interpretations from, the Last Supper to riffs on the Winter Olympics. But, when you see it again with Scholz, it really starts to, raise some concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's a manipulation of space, and the image really nicely shows that. But it's also a manipulation of foreign policy at the same time because of that.
And in terms of psychology, too, what can we say? Like, absolute power disturbs absolutely. Is this the downside of Putin's presidency for life? He came to power in May 2000. He's been around for a long time. My sense is this shows how strange and out of touch he's become. In the past, his photo ops were smart. They would emphasize virility and power. The famous photo of him shirtless on a horseback or him piloting a submarine. But in this case, the isolation and absolute power perhaps renders the photo just overly paranoid and phallic and foolish.